what I found is the team always picks up their pace with my pace. Always, every single time. I actually haven't found a speed they can't keep up with. It's a human nature. Like if you're walking with someone down a street, and the person that's walking the fastest, the other person will keep up with them.
This is the Business of Advice podcast, where we help good advisors become great business owners. Today, I'd like to welcome a really good friend of mine, Marc Sparks, to the Business of Advice podcast. Marc is a serial entrepreneur in every definition of that word. He is based in Dallas, Texas. Marc has started dozens of companies, including a few software companies, a telecommunications company, an insurance company, which he took public, a real estate development company, and hospitals. He is the founder of his family office, Timber Creek Capital. But here's what I love about Marc. Marc was, by his own definition, an underprivileged C+ high school educated guy, no college degree. He was the youngest of 5 kids and raised entirely by a single mom. And that makes Marc's success story all the more remarkable. How does a kid with all this going against him know how to build and operate software companies, insurance companies, and today, hospitals? Also, at the urging of Marc's good friend and mine, Darren Hardy, Marc wrote a how-to entrepreneurial book called They Can't Eat You, My Unorthodox Path to Outrageous Success. And we'll get more into that later, but it is a book that you should order. Marc, my good friend, I appreciate you making the time to do this.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Cody. I really appreciate the invitation to be on your podcast.
Yeah, and your story is so incredible. We've gotten to know each other really well over the last almost 10 years now. Just to see what you've been able to achieve. And I'm excited for people to hear this because you are probably the best entrepreneur that I've ever met. And so I'm ready for you to share some wisdom with everyone.
Oh, gosh, that's so kind of you. In some of my journey, I wouldn't wish it on anyone, but a lot of my journey, I wish everyone could experience it. So if I can share a few kernels of wisdom and it actually get across and people implement it, execute on it, that excites me. So I was glad to get your invitation. And this, by the way, is the first one I've ever done. And I normally don't do these things. I do this specifically for you due to our friendship, and I'm excited to share.
Well, it's perfect. This is a Business of Advice exclusive then. Well, I'll have to market it that way. So, hey, let me, I kind of talked about your background and upbringing, but you've gone on to have just tremendous success. Would you share with the audience just a few of the traits that you think have made you successful over this kind of 30-year journey?
Yeah, that's a big one to get started with. The traits of the success of an entrepreneur. Wow. Well, our friend Darren Hardy says that I am unconsciously competent. That offended me the first time I heard it. You start thinking about it. That doesn't sound very nice. And then I realized, you know what? He's right. I really am. C+ high school educated guy. I've had virtually no training except a 2-week license requirement for an insurance license here and there, that sort of thing. Other than that, I am genuinely unconsciously competent. And that's what makes this a little hard for me to share my competency, because I sometimes don't know exactly why God gave me these talents, but here I am. One of the traits for success that I have is I'm extremely competitive. Not in the sense that I'm the guy that stomps off the field and can't take a loss, an angry loser. I'm just competitive because I want to win. I always want to win. I've never been driven to make money. That just came with the winning. I just have this need to succeed. I've had this need to win. I'm not sure you can teach that, teach someone how to be competitive, but it's worked out really, really well for me. I don't get these professional football teams at the beginning of the year in the preseason. We're all watching on TV, and at the end of the game that's live, the losing team always has this is preseason, losing doesn't count. I say the heck with that. I mean, losing counts no matter what you're doing, and sometimes losing can become acceptable if you're not very, very careful about it. I just have enjoyed winning all my life and look forward to it. Another trait that I've been blessed with is I'm able to put my losses and my failures in the rearview mirror really, really quick. Not many people can do that. It's a lot of people will, almost everybody I know, frankly, will dwell on it and opine about it and cry about it for months, years at a time, and look up 2 years later and they're wondering what happened. What happened to that 2 years? They wallow in it. I just don't do that. I've had my kabooms. I've had my big losses too.
Hey, can I ask you a question there on that? Because if anyone listens to Darren's Darren Daly that I recommended everyone do when I had Darren on the podcast, he references you quite often in there. You are the Marc Sparks that he talks about all the time in the Darren Daly. But we've talked about this a lot when just you and me and him are sitting around. Like you have, I don't know if you've had as many business failures as successes, but they're kind of running neck and neck. But you do have this uncanny ability to say like, you know what? Didn't work. Move on to the next thing. Is that something that you've learned over time, or is there some way that you do cope with those losses? Because I think most entrepreneurs do struggle with that. So any tips you have there?
Well, that's a great question. What I've figured out is you're going to have losses, and it's like going to Vegas. I mean, you're not going to win them all. You go into it planning to win the hand at Vegas, but next thing you know, the dealer reaches across and takes all your money. So it happens, and you just laugh it off, and it just depends on the obviously I'm talking about business. I'm not talking about
Sure.
Loss of life and that kind of thing. It's just, that one didn't work out. I gave it hell. I left everything I had on the field, and all the sweats out there. I don't know what else I could have done that would have been better. Actually, I've gotten where I can change the channel in my head. The worst time for me is at 3:00 in the morning when my eyes pop open and I go into dwelling on the past. And I literally, instead of that, I don't want to get religion into this. I go into prayer personally. I like to change the channel entirely into another subject. If I don't, then you end up in that rabbit hole. So it's very important to just let it go. Let it go. And I've got an example of a big old kaboom on January 22nd of 2020. A date I'll never forget. One of our brand new $23 million hospitals was 94% complete in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And we have all of our hospitals on camera during construction. And at the time, we had 4 hospitals under construction at the same time. And at 3:00 in the morning, our local CEO sends me a text. I didn't see it till the next morning. Sends me a text with a newsreel of our hospital in eternal flames. It was there's nothing but red fire. And I'm like, whoa, oh my, what, a $23 million poof, burnt to the ground. And, most people would just curl up in a ball and that would be life altering for the next however many years. Well, fast forward, in 7 months, I rebuilt that hospital and opened it. So it's that thing. I've just been really, really blessed not to wallow in self-pity.
Yeah.
And it's because it's going to happen. Just get ready for it, And when it does, act quick, get through it. In fact, Liberty Mutual, the insurance company that insured me on that project, sent me this glowing letter of they've never had a project that catastrophic be literally brought out of the ashes overnight like we did before. So my theory, my thought with the insurance company was time is money for you and time is money for us. So we might as well just get after it and clean this little mess up. So that's followed my entire life, that philosophy. And I think it's paid off many, many fold, probably more than I realize.
That's cool. Any other traits that you've seen that specific to you
Yeah,
think have helped you?
speed. My third God-given talent for success is speed. My team around here and our office coins it as spark speed. This kind of goes back to Darren Hardy's unconscious competence observation of me, but speed for us is unconscious, but boy, has it paid off outrageously in my career. Back to the hospitals, back to the rehab hospitals, which happens to be my focus over the last few years. The only example I can give you is over the last 4.5 years, we started Everest Rehab Hospitals. Mind you, one of those years was a COVID year, basically lockdown. You couldn't communicate with or face-to-face with anybody, especially the municipalities and cities and states that we work with. And let me back up a little bit. Everest Rehab Hospitals is a chain of modern 36-bed, $23 million acute care physical rehab hospitals. Our patients come to us in an ambulance from a traditional hospital. We're not substance abuse, we're physical rehabilitation. These are folks that had a stroke or a brain injury or a dozen other acute medical conditions that they need a place to go before they can go home. They literally can't walk. We take the patients in for a couple of weeks and provide 3 hours a day worth of intense physical therapy. Some days I'm not sure I could even do it, and get them back into life again. So it's an important play for us. However, we took a page out of the book of Southwest Airlines. We build identical hospitals, and today, in 4.5 years, we have opened 5 brand new hospitals in 5 different states, 5 different cities, and we have 3 more currently under construction in 3 different cities, 2 different states, and 6 more under development in Florida. So this is the epitome of spark speed. This is the definition of spark speed. I mean, how does a C+ high school educated kid know how to not only develop, open, operate, license hospitals, but do 14 of them in 4.5 years? Clearly, that has to be a real asset or arrow in the quiver of success.
It's
Speed
something
to market.
Yeah, and I've seen you with this. I want to ask you a question. It was one of the specific things I wanted to talk about is what amongst our friend group is the legendary spark speed as we talk about it. I don't know if you remember this story, but you and I were talking about this kind of restaurant concept, and a day later after we had talked about it, you sent over logo designs, branding, name, like literally one day after we had talked about it. But here's what I want to ask you, because I've seen the speed at which you execute stuff, and a lot of times that can scare the team around you, or it's hard for them to keep up with that pace. And I think most entrepreneurs have ideas and they want to get them executed on into market quickly. How do you bring your team along, or how do you get them to match that kind of legendary speed that you operate at?
That's interesting, because what I found is the team always picks up their pace with my pace. Always, every single time. I actually haven't found a speed they can't keep up with. It's a human nature. The faster, like if you're walking with someone down a street, and the person that's walking the fastest, the other person will keep up with them, unless it's my wife and she tells me to slow down. But it's always the staff will keep up with the pace of a leader. I've never seen it. Now I've had some staff say, "Can I get it to you in the morning instead of tonight?" Well, sure, but beyond that, it's they keep up. They always keep up. Test it. We've got a pace that one of our team members is from New York, and she's in her 40s, and she said, "My gosh, that's what I love about this office. It reminds me of New York. It's the pace. It's the quick. It's the get after it. It's not the die by 1,000 cuts meetings. It's just the do it attitude around here." So So it's valuable. Paid off well for me.
Are there any other traits?
Look, you're going to do it. So my theory is you're going to do whatever it is. You might as well just do it now.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed, Cody, how much work you get done the day before you go on vacation?
Yep.
That's the pace that we keep within this firm 24/7. We don't have closed doors. Everybody's in and out of every door. There's not a lot of meetings that we have to huddle up on. We will do one-ofs out in the hall and quickly reach in and grab that other person. It's just the quickening of pace. Some people will say, well, in 3 to 5 years, I'll be doing blah, blah, blah. Well, the truth is they really never know what's going to get done in 3 to 5 years. Why can't you just get that done in 9 months instead of 3 to 5 years?
Yep.
Just focus in on the goal. My theory is a goal without a deadline is only a dream. So give those goals deadlines. Unattainable deadlines in your head, but you'll be shocked how quickly you will achieve those goals if you just give it a aggressive deadline.
It's one of the things I've seen with you, and as we've talked over the years, is you set these what some would look at as like these almost unrealistic deadlines or expectations, but they always get met, which is, to me, there's so much wisdom in that simple statement there, right? That it almost always the work gets done. It either expands or contracts to the time that is allowed to get it done in. So why not contract it and get more done?
That's a fact. It's so much of being an entrepreneur is simple. You just got to execute on it and do it. Give it that. I often around here, people will bring up an audacious idea and we'll gravitate to it, and they'll say, well, when would you like it done? And I'll say, well, Friday at 2:32 would be great. So and they know I mean it. There's no reason not to do that. So it's really part of being successful. Filling that time. I honestly believe I've lived the life of a dozen entrepreneurs, and it's been extremely gratifying life. The only other person I know that's lived a more aggressive, fulfilled life than myself is Dave Liniger, the founder and CEO of Remax, in our group, as you mentioned, Cody.
Yep.
And I am in awe of his history, just in awe. But I do value life, and it's I want to get a lot done every single day. So in doing that, if you give yourself those deadlines that are early, you'll live a very full life, undoubtedly.
You bring up Dave. Are there? You've been around a lot of other successful entrepreneurs. Are there some common traits or characteristics that you've seen in other successful entrepreneurs that maybe either align with what you've seen, or just things that you've then tried to take back and emulate in your own business ventures?
There are indeed. I've been an entrepreneur now for almost 40 years. So I've seen a lot of those common traits and have been a student of those common traits. One of which is successful people are confident people. I've often said, if I could only give my daughter, my only daughter, one thing in life, one thing, not money, not beauty, one thing, it would be to be confident. And I think today parents can raise confident children no matter what your economic status is. But confidence is the number one successful trait in all successful people. Another one is being habitual, habit forming, and consistent with your activities. Going back to Darren Daily, I watch it every single morning ever since it came out. Some days I may be brushing my teeth while I'm listening to it, but I'm habitual about that. Being a habitual person and consistent is extremely valuable in being successful. Another one is always learning. Successful person. And one thing about you, Cody, I've noticed wow, if I had been your age and learned what you have, I'd be so much further than I am today, which is, I can't wait to see where you are when you're 60, because you're always learning. And again, that inspires me to learn more too, to watch you do that.
I appreciate that.
It's amazing. Another thing successful people do that I've found is is they get plenty of exercise. I have historically, I can't remember the last time I didn't do it. Every single morning after I get up, have a cup of coffee, I'll do 30 push-ups. Sometimes it's not so comfortable. I mean, that 18th and 19th push-up is pretty easy. Get to 30. Do 30 push-ups, and I'll do 50 jumping jacks just to get my heart going. And that gets the day happening. I mean, now I'm again, it's habitual. I got consistent with it, and I can't start my day without it. I mean, your heart's going to pound after you do those two things. That gets you going. Let's see. Another one is successful people perform. They do exactly what they say they're going to do, even at times when it's uncomfortable. I can't tell you how many times I've said, well, it's like this podcast. You asked me to be on it a month ago. I said, okay. And dadgummit, that month didn't come up, and this isn't very comfortable for me. So, but I'm doing it. It's like, you just got to do it. If you say you're going to do it, no matter how uncomfortable it is.
That's cool. What are, we talked about some of the traits or the positives, but as you look back on your business career and you kind of hit on this, that you have had some failures. Are there any regrets that you've had in your career, things that you look back on and say like, man, if I could do that one over?
It's not, like I said earlier, I don't spend a lot of time dwelling on the past. There's a couple specific things, like I wished I'd have had an attorney about 10 years older than me, not a sorority or a fraternity brother, but an attorney that I could use as a counselor. I mean, sure, I've had dozens of attorneys. They're all specific to M&A, to insurance, to taking a company public, blah. But I needed an attorney that I could call and say, hey, what do you think about this and this? Can you meet me for a beer? I need to bend your ear on this. And it needs to be a very experienced guy. I have looked for one. I even tried to put him on staff, just to have that sounding board of reason and the sounding board of recognizing you may be going down, at least argue with me, to debate, versus a guy that I'm going to pay $300 an hour. And he's going to listen to me all day long as I'm paying $300 an hour. I needed a guy that in the camp that was had a law degree, had his own practice, and I never found that guy. I do regret that, and still to this day don't have it. And as a side note, get yourself a great CPA, which I do have that. I've had him for about 20 years, just outstanding firm and guy. And as a side note to that, I pay my accountant a monthly fee, which he never asked for. I pay him a flat monthly fee, and as we've grown, his fee has increased. But with that, the profound reasoning behind it was he is endeared to me. I mean, he's like, during off tax season, he still gets that monthly fee, and it's paid off during tax season. And I'm the first call he'll take. So be sure to get you a good CPA and pay him well, and pay him regularly. They normally don't get a monthly stipend or monthly fee. So you would clearly have their attention if you'll do something like that.
Great advice.
Yeah.
That attorney one is really good. I can think specifically of some friends who I think, had they had some wise counsel that could have walked them through, some scenarios that they probably weren't thinking of. As entrepreneurs, let me back up. I think as entrepreneurs, we're born to see the upside and the positives in any and everything that we want to get into. Having someone that, you mentioned our friend Dave Linegar. I remember him telling me that when we were sitting at that bar in Napa at Solage, at one of the first get-togethers we had, and he said, "Hey, as your company grows, you have a lot more to risk. So having some wise people around you who will point out some of the flaws in all your great ideas that you want to run forward with is not a bad thing to have." So that's just incredible wisdom that I think anyone, whether they can find that attorney or just someone that has some of that experience who could be wise counsels, is really, really good.
And I've looked high and low. I think one of the keys to that is don't hire your friend. That in law school that you knew, not that guy. You need somebody with about 10 more years of experience than you've got that can really give you the what ifs. Mm-hmm. And you know, in life, unfortunately, lawsuits are pretty active, and being the guy that likes to win, I have been subject to a lawsuit or two, and by golly, I'm going to win. Well, I look back and some of the opportunities I had not to go completely to the mat, had I had better counsel, not someone, this is just an example, not someone that was going to get a big fat fee going to the mat. Had I had someone else give me the counsel to settle it, or just agree to a scenario where nobody wins and we separate, would have paid off too, because the time loss was more expensive than the fees that I'd pay the attorneys.
Yep.
So find you somebody. You know, I spent a couple of years really looking hard for it and never did. But hopefully you'll have better luck, Cody, than I.
Hey, I want to ask you, I remember at one of the first times we met, it was one of the small mastermind groups that Darren had facilitated. And we each had 7 minutes to share something that would be impactful to the rest of the group. And you started yours by handing out this toy. I think it was one of the California raisins or something like that is what it was, which was a little bit of a weird start, but I've now come to expect that from you. But what you went on to share was powerful. And that was the concept of pruning. And I think as entrepreneurs, this is an important thing for everyone to hear. Would you explain the concept of pruning and why it is so important for an entrepreneur to know and understand that concept, and maybe more importantly, to practice it?
Yeah. And it is a practice. It really is. And to back up on your story, the little California raisin, you can actually find those things, that little toy on eBay today. That's where I found them. And it's about 2 or 3 inches tall, and it looks like a prune, and it's got a face on it, but it's actually the raisin that they used to promote in their commercials. So I ran around in the room and passed out a dozen of those, one on each in front of each person that was at our event. And I said, I want you to look at that. And they all saw the California raisin. I said, actually, it's a prune. So that's a prune. I want you to take that home, put it on your desk, and think about that after I share with you the importance of pruning. So pruning is probably the most valuable tool that I found over the 40-year span of being an entrepreneur. I firmly believe that a cluttered desk is a cluttered mind. And if you're one of those that has a desk piled up with papers, stacks and stacks of documents and papers, there's no way. It's absolutely impossible that you can focus on any one of those subjects or projects at a time. It's humanly impossible. So that and that actually happened to me back years ago. I found out I was taking over 100 subscriptions, Wall Street Journal, USA Today. I mean, the Business Week, Newsweek, insurance periodicals. Just went on. I got 100 of those a month. And looked around my office, I had stacks on the floor. So I said, enough is enough. And at the end of the day, it was all just noise. None of it was profound that helped me with being more successful or happier in life. It was all either gloom and doom or sensational news or some scenario that just didn't help me at all. And now this has been a 20-year test study that has paid off in spades for me. I prune everything. I prune. If somebody pushes me an email, it gets through the spam filter. The first thing I'll do is go down and unsubscribe, and I'll do that. Probably I'm down to 1 a day, where it used to be 30, 40 a day. I would get pushed at me, and it's just they're trying to grab your time and attention, which is the most valuable thing you've got. And now it's just delete. I can't prune and delete enough anymore. And at the end of the day, your time is all you got. That is the most special thing that you've got. And if you're constantly being sucked away with noise, then you're not going to be nearly as successful as you think you are. I know in your business y'all need Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all the social media. I deleted my social media 4 years ago. I haven't seen a Facebook in 4 years. Just none. I mean,
you haven't missed much, brother.
That's what I hear. That's what I hear. I missed a lot of fun political ads, I understand. It's like, oh my gosh. It's the few times I got myself caught into it, I'd look up an hour later. Yeah. I'm looking at some high school kid that got in a car wreck or something. You know, it's like, what am I looking at here? So I'm out. I even prune my own closet. Every single year between Christmas and New Year's, there's that 3-week little down period. I update my will and I prune my closet. Those two things have been habitual since I can remember.
Well, I remember one other benefit to this. When you shared that idea, I came home and did some similar things like that. But one of the things, just looking, like you mentioned that subscription, it makes me think about it just as advice to everyone who listens to this podcast. Like, I'll bet I went and looked at all the softwares or crap that I had subscribed to over the years. And I'll bet I saved several $1,000s in just going, and I'm like, yeah, I haven't used that in 3 years. Don't need that anymore. And I think even, specific to our industry, a lot of financial advisors, we will subscribe to softwares that we think we're going to use. And, everyone's so good these days that you get the first 3 months free. If you give them your credit card, then it starts billing. And just going through and looking at our credit card statements at work and personal of things that we were paying for that we never used. You would be shocked at how much you would probably save that you can go, I could probably have taken a nice vacation and the annual fees that we saved when we did that. So I just think it's a great concept. You have me looking around my office literally right now as we're recording this, thinking, between Christmas and New Year's, I'm gonna just clear a bunch of stuff out. So,
and that, I mean, telling you, when you come back to the office, you look up and go, well, I'll tell you this. When a lot of people say, well, how do you develop 14 hospitals at once? 14 in 14 different cities, 5 different states. How is that even possible? By the way, with a team of 5 people, that's it. There's just 5 of us doing this. And they're all state of the art. You think you've walked into an Apple store, but there's 36 acute care beds in these hospitals. How do you do that? Well, again, it's unconscious competence. I don't know how you can't do it. In fact, I have room to do another 3 or 4 right now, but 14 at once. Well, I literally have a stack of each hospital has its own stack but that's it. That's all that's in my office. There's 14 stacks with an orange cover on top of each stack that says, I'm looking back at it says, one will say Cincinnati, number 6, El Paso, 7, San Antonio, 8, Lakeland, Florida, 9, Kissimmee, 10, Port St. Lucie, 11, etc. So I'm able to easily organize a massive undertaking because I don't have clutter anywhere. I mean, anywhere. It looks like my office looks like literally like you walked into an Apple store. Mm-hmm. There's nothing anywhere. In fact, I think you can go on the website and you can actually see my office, and you'll get the instant picture. We do that on purpose. We don't let people stick cute college flags on their cubicles. I mean, this isn't a place for that kind of camaraderie. It's to come in and wave your Texas A&M flag or UT flag, and have balloons all over the place. We're just not that rah-rah. We have a good time. I mean, we are all very very social, but we're not anything more than what we have to do to stay focused on our business. We just don't allow those things to creep in our world.
Mark,
pruning.
Yeah, I wasn't going to ask you this question, but maybe it's a follow-up to what you just said. Do you try, as you're building out your team, so you have a small but powerful, effective team, some have been with you for a long time, Are you trying to find people that are wired a little bit like you? Or, we hear about hiring people that complement us, but even when you talk about the environment and the culture that you built there, are a lot of the people wired in a similar fashion to you? Or what are you looking for when you're out trying to bring people onto your team?
So what we found, or I found, is that our tribe, my again, back to Darren's unconscious competence. It's so hard for me to explain, but at the end of the day, my herd looks, acts, and conducts themselves exactly like I do. And it's not, and if they don't, they weed themselves out. They just can't handle it. Your office, Cody, 600 people, it's nearly impossible to do that. And in our world, the 5 of us that do what we do are afraid we're going to let somebody in and they're going to bring cancer to our herd. So instead of that happening, what happens is one of us rises to the occasion to fill that void temporarily, and then we realize, we didn't need that person anyway. So we're like as though we're on an island and there's 5 of us, but here once in a while a boat with other people will be coming ashore, and we don't allow them to touch land, because it's too valuable. I mean, literally at 1:15 in the morning, I can text Jennifer or Carissa or Morgan or Chavis, and they'll respond within 5 or 6 minutes. I mean, it's not that we're workaholics. We're just in tune. We're totally in tune with one another and and the goal and what we want to accomplish.
Anything specific you think you've done to get them in tune with you? I know, the pace and they follow, but as people think about how they're building their team out, and the reason I ask this very specific question is, so many of the advisors we support have a similar size team, right? Maybe 5, 6 at the top end, maybe 15 or 20 team members. And just, I've seen the offices where that's cohesive and they work well together and those that don't. So any just tips off the top of your head that you think has helped you build that cohesive team?
Well, it almost goes back to the original thought about how your team will rise to the pace of the leader. If the leader leaves at 3:00 on Wednesday afternoon to go play golf, well, their minds have checked out too, even though they're maybe physically here. If the leader comes in at 10:00 in the morning, well, they realize they don't have to really think that much till 10:00 in the morning. I am the first one here and the last one to leave Monday through Friday. And it's because I want to be, I enjoy this. I would rather be here working on and to me, it's not even work. It's more career success, career winning than it is work. Last night, my wife and I were watching an episode of The Voice, and we love that show. And I was simultaneously working on a hospital in Cincinnati, Ohio, and one in San Antonio. And I looked at her and said, "God bless America. Here we can enjoy this and still do that." At the same time, and it's great. So to me, it's the tide rises and all the boats come up with it. The leader leads and shows by example 24/7, and guess what? The rest of them will follow. It's happened to me for 40 years.
One other thing you do well that I wasn't going to ask you this either, but I didn't know if we would get on this topic. I've heard the stories of it, and I've seen it, kind of the impact. You also do take really good care of your team, and one thing that I've seen about you, and maybe this is something you could talk about a little bit, is when you as an organization or one of your businesses has success or a big win, you tend to celebrate and share kind of that with the team. Would you just maybe hit on your philosophy around taking care of the people on your team and what that looks like?
Yes. That's a very good point. And who knows, that may be bigger than I think it is.
It probably is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. At the end of the day, people do go home at night and they have their own family, and they want to be able to take their kids, send their kids to great college and all those life things that they have. I don't dwell on their lives, and they don't dwell on mine, but money is not the most important thing in the world, but it's right up there with oxygen. So I found that when we have a financial win in our office, we are really, really good at sharing that win throughout the team. And you have to realize that you're not, you may own the office, but it sure as heck didn't succeed without the rest of the team. It just didn't happen. That's the reason the team's there. When we do hire, which is quite infrequently, we never discuss this. We don't discuss, hey, by the way, here's your salary, and there may or may not be a big bonus day someday. We never discuss it. It's not out. What happens is they just get it when it happens. It's like, and I can't even tell them what that's going to be. I don't believe in complicated comp systems. I think that's just a recipe for disaster. When someone can't actually quantify their comp, you're looking for a problem for a long, long time. In our case, Cody, we have wins about twice a year. Really, really big wins, and that's usually on an M&A basis. We'll exit a business or something of that nature, and I'll just write out 5 great big checks, and the team has no idea when they're going to get it, if they're going to get it, if the win was big enough, if we made a profit. They don't get in that deep, but they cry like babies when they get those checks. I mean, shaking, crying, life-changing checks, genuinely life-changing checks that they never knew they were going to get. And that will get somebody to answer your text at 1:15 in the morning real quick.
Well, and I think that's why some of your people have been with you for so long and do move at that pace. But one of the things too, I share this because you and I have talked about this, those checks are life-changing to you, or I'm sorry, to them. You keeping that money would not really have been all that life-changing to you. And I think a lot of times, especially in a smaller business, right? It gets harder when you've got hundreds, maybe thousands of employees, but in a smaller business, it's being able to share some of that and take care of the people, especially the great people that you want to have with you for a long, long time, is just something I've seen you do over and over again. So I want you to share that. Okay,
I'm glad. I do want to throw one more thing in there. Another thing I do, and I think you do this in your office, is I buy my team lunch every single day, every day. It's and I mean good stuff. We're not talking about McDonald's. I mean it's grilled salmon or mahi or some really good substance food. And these are things that they can't leave you. They just can't. They can't leave you because they don't know. They know I'm going to take care of them. By the way, they're all extremely well salaried. Just for starters, I always like to pay about 20% above market, and that begins I can't tell you how many times somebody will share with me their desired salary. Let's just a round number, say $100,000 a year, and before the meeting is over, if I want them, I will pay them $125,000 a year. And I never pay them what they ask. I pay them more than what they ask. And I can't tell you how many times they look at me with the double take, like, what did you just do to me? I mean, that's the beginning of the lifetime endearment right there. Every single time I do it. So overpay them and bonus them and provide a real quality lunch every day. You just can't find it anywhere else.
That's very cool.
They're not going to leave you. It's not going to happen.
since we are really good friends, have really gotten to know each other over the years, there's a few things I want to ask you about that others would maybe not know about you at a surface level, but I know they are big parts of your success. And one of those is, and you've kind of talked about this, talked around it a little bit, but the one thing that I think everyone on top of spark speed that we all talk about with what you do is just this excellence and attention to detail in everything that you do. Whether that's your office, your house, your businesses, just you take what most people would think is a 10, you're going to do it a level 15. I want to ask you maybe just uh, what you see in that, but let me ask maybe a few specific ones of just telling the story. So you were talking about your closet earlier, and I don't know if you remember this story, but to set it up for everyone listening, we hosted one of the masterminds at your house in Dallas, which you had just built this spectacular house, just every detail, thought through. And you're walking us through and showing us a tour, and we walk into your closet, and you have this immaculate closet, and you had I've never seen this before. Every shirt, well, first they were, you had a certain row for, the long sleeve shirts, and then a certain row for the polo shirts, and on. But every shirt was on the exact same hanger, and they were all, I think it was an inch and a half apart, like exactly. And just to mess with you, like I like to do, I actually pushed a few of the shirts together, and it took you like 3 seconds. You were looking around, you're like, wait, what? And you went and had to go fix them. But what, like, I know that's a funny example, but like, why is it that you do things at such an excellent level when you could probably get by with really good?
Oh, that's another one. It's like my wife. Some might say I have OCD. Obsessive compulsive disorder.
I could argue that, yeah.
She says, my wife of 30 years says, but man, keep doing that. It's afforded me a hell of a lifestyle. You just keep going. You just keep doing that. Yeah. In fact, the shirts in my closet are also color coded. So they start with white, and they end up, goes into the color of the rainbow, and gets closer and closer, and then finally to black. But so it to me, when I walk in my closet, it's a sense of peace and organization. It's not, I don't think it's unusual, other than, and I think it's art. It's pretty. I enjoy it. And back to your question of excellence, we can all live in a 1,000 square foot clean home and be just as happy as you can a 5,000 square foot clean home. I just prefer to live life to the fullest with excellence. I mean, and that includes, and my mind's racing right now, so you have to forgive me.
Well, but maybe I'll give you a perfect example. Talk about maybe even the rehab hospitals, right? Because most rehab hospitals are kind of run down, pretty average. They're trying to get you in and out. And like the ones you're building are like, the Taj Mahal of like rehab hospitals, which cost you a lot more money. Doesn't necessarily make you a ton more money. But so what was the thought process behind that?
And that's a very good example. In fact, I have associates in our world, bankers and rehab hospital communities and executives, and they all tell me, they go, Mark, you're overbuilding your hospitals, right? I mean, you're way overbuilding these hospitals. It's just because I can't. I can't not put out an excellent product. I just can't do it. And back to your point, Cody, we are paid whether we put out a marginal product of a hospital, or we put out a Ferrari of a hospital. And I prefer the Ferrari of a hospital. Therefore, we spend more money. The same 4 wheels of a Ford and 4 wheels of a Ferrari are going to get you the same place. But at the end of the day, I'd rather. P.S. I don't drive a Ferrari, but I'd rather be in a nice, clean car than a 1985 Ford F-150. It's just it's this desire to live life in full excellence versus that's good enough. No, let's be all we can be as long as we can be it. I mean, we are literally not here very long. And my theory is be as excellent 24/7 as you can possibly be. And you will exponentially be happier if you do that. It's not hard work when you enjoy it. Enjoy that.
One of the reasons I specifically brought it up is I have seen, especially with financial advisors, I tell them, I've probably said this over the past 16 years, no less than 100 times, but the number one guaranteed proven way, compliance probably won't like me saying that, but the number one guaranteed proven way to grow your business is to upgrade your office. Like every time I see an advisor put effort into upgrading the quality and caliber and location of their office, their business goes up, right? And I think there's something subtle that people walk in and they also feel a little bit of a peace and calm that comes with that also. And I've just seen you do it in everything that you do at a level that's just, at a whole different level than anyone else. What is, you have a unique office. Would you talk through one of the questions I wanted to ask you, because I've seen it, but what's the weirdest thing in your office?
Oh, that's funny question. I have a ceramic pig. It's a life-size, skinny ceramic pig in my office, and it reminds me every time I look at it that pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. It reminds me to always leave a little meat on the bone during a negotiation for the next guy. That's the weirdest thing I've got in my office. Yeah, it's paid off in spades. I can't tell you how many negotiations or exits I've had that I've left meat on the bone, and the buyer at the end of it says, I would have paid more for that. And I said, you know what? I'm happy. I can't drive any more cars. I can't buy any more homes. I can't spend any more money. Life's good. And now you get to go do the same thing. And I mean, 2 years later, they call me and ask me if they can buy another one from me. It just pays off. Leave a little meat on the bone. Don't try to be that guy that sells at the very top of the market, because you can't. The only way you can do that is if you just get lucky. So purposely, I leave meat on the bone. That pig helps me remember to do that.
Well, and that's one of the great lessons in your book that everyone should go by. But I remember that one vividly about everyone, is trying to get the best deal possible all the time. You try and make deals that the other side also feels really good about it. So, okay, I'm going to ask one final question. Then I want to jump into just a couple quick lightning round questions. But I know a lot of things about you, but what are two things that would surprise people that listen to this about Marc Sparks?
Good question. Number one, I am a terrible public speaker. I really don't like doing that. I fight through it, and sometimes I'll get off of the stage and I don't even remember what I said. And I have to work really, really hard at it. I'm not a very good people person. I'm not a huggy, feely, touchy person. I know you know that one. I struggle daily to feel emotionally and financially full. That's kind of a big one, and it's something I'm able to talk about now. I really struggle daily to feel emotionally and financially full. I've traveled entirely around the world in 23 days. I did it in 23 days from start to finish. 23 days. That was kind of fun. That was, and I highly recommend it for anyone listening to take that journey for themselves. It'll change your life for the good.
That was cool. So the big takeaway there is, if anyone meets you, they should immediately give you a huge hug.
That's it. Because that will make me run for the hills.
Okay. I know I've kept you for a while, and I know you're a busy man. Can I ask you just a couple quick lightning round questions that I try and ask everyone at the end of this?
All right.
Okay. First question. Looking back on what started with COVID in 2020 and just a lot of things that happened, was there one lesson that you learned from that stretch that you think you'll carry forward for the rest of your business career life?
Yeah. Yeah, there is. I know your audience is going to be shocked at this, but I'm somewhat of a germaphobe, and I'm a get it done yesterday guy, spark speed. So 2020 was a bear for me. It was, especially the first couple months, it was really difficult. So, but then I figured out I could have conference calls walking around my backyard. That was interesting. And to get used to that was really difficult. I figured out that I actually relearned how incredibly resilient we as a human species are.
Yep.
And that is eye opening to me. It's like, wow. I mean, we're still in a pandemic, and we're all getting through it. This too shall pass. It's amazing that. And then I started looking back at history, that every catastrophic scenario in life was just a bleep on the screen. And this someday will be in a history book and a bleep on the screen. So just relearning that we're resilient and we can get through anything that was humbling and eye opening. And I don't think I would have stopped and recognized that had we not experienced such a catastrophic situation.
Well, I know for you being a germaphobe like you are, it was great because everyone else became one too. So you felt like you were in heaven.
Oh, yeah. And get this. Last year, at this time, I got COVID. There's no way. I mean, it made no sense. My wife and I both spent Christmas Day with a nice bout of COVID. And so then 8 months later, I get the vaccine, and I think a week later, we can't quite nail it down, I got COVID again.
You should just stop worrying about. You don't expose yourself to any germs, and then you're very susceptible to these viruses. You need to stop that. So, okay,
what I say, I'm gonna start licking door handles and stuff, and just get over.
What are you doing this year to drive your own personal growth and development?
It's Darren Hardy. That's all I do. I'm a huge fan of Darren Hardy. Darren calls it like it is, and there's no sugarcoating to it. He's always dead on. I listen to Darren dailies. I have been to his HPF classes 3 times. I've been to Elites twice. I always come out with something new. He's a prolific curator of personal growth. And why you can just prune all the noise from everybody else and let Darren feed you. You just don't need any more. That's if you're drinking by fire hose with his anyway. So yep. I'm a huge fan of him and how he does what he does. So I just let him do his thing, and I take it all in. And my staff is hooked on it. My outside staff, we have over 1,000 people within the hospitals. They're all hooked on it. So it's for me, it's worked so well. I just let him fire feed me with words of wisdom and experiences, and I live by it.
Well, and as you and I have talked about, to see the growth he's even taken and just how good he has gotten since we first met him. You've known him for a long time, but both of us known him for 10 years now. It's just pretty incredible. The amount and volume and quality of stuff that he is putting out is really, really good right now. Okay, what is the book? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, he just keeps getting stronger and better. And most in his field, they get a little bit of success and they start falling off. They start believing in their own stuff, and they aren't continued curators of this personal growth. And Darren just feeds on it. Yeah, he loves it and provides the best product better every year. So enough said about Darren.
Well, yeah, we don't want to blow him up too much. So he'll probably listen to this and then give us nice compliments, I'm sure.
For sure.
What is the one book that you have recommended most to other business owner entrepreneurs outside of your own?
Oh, I thought you were including my own. It's my own. My book it's sold out, by the way. You can't get it on paperback, but I think you can still get it on Amazon. for digitally, but that's about it. But it's back to Darren. It's all of Darren's books and courses. I'm not a prolific reader, but when there's one like Darren's, I know you are, Cody, and I respect that. I wish I did more of it. Just Darren's books and courses are all I would recommend for entrepreneurial growth.
That's great. Okay, final question. What is the single best piece of advice that you've ever received?
There's a couple. One is they can't eat you. Happens to be the title of my book. No matter how bad you think the outcome is going to be, or you toil over a situation, they just can't eat you. It's not going to be that bad. In other words, it's going to be okay. And to me, life boils down to three things. And this was another piece of advice that I got. And I write this every Sunday on my do list, which I handwrite every Sunday evening. That you need someone to love, you need something to do, and you need something to look forward to. I dare you to try to think of any circumstance that doesn't fit in those three categories. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Those three things, that's where it boils down to. And there's a tiny bit of advice, if I could, to give to your audience.
Yeah.
That I've learned over the years is that too much is given, much is demanded. And to your biblical friends, that's Luke 12:48. But the point is, give generously, smile a lot, be kind. Not just during the holidays. I mean, give a $100 bill to a grocery store clerk, and it'll blow your mind. Her reaction will absolutely blow your mind. I often will be standing at a grocery store. Now I'm kind of obsessed with it. And she'll hand me back change from a $50 with $20 or something, whatever I just bought. And I will, instead of taking the money from her, I'll reach out, let her put it in my hand, and I'll put a $100 bill on top of it and hand it to her and say, I want you to have this. You and she will definitely cry, but you will have a moment that you'll never forget. And if you do that 2 or 3 times a week, you'll be blessed many, many fold. I do it all the time. I did it the other day. Valeted our car at some restaurant, and the guy was expecting his consolatory $5 key, hand me my keys, and I gave him $100. And he stopped and said, Mr. Sparks, this is too much. And he reached out and grabbed my arm and said, no, you have to take this back. And I said, no, I meant to give you this. He thought I did it on mistake. I said, oh no, I meant you to have this. He cried. It was like, you don't know what this just did for me. And I don't know what it did. And they rarely will explain it. But, we all give to charity. We all write these checks and making churches and foundations and everybody happy with our donations. But when you do it hand to hand with another human being and look them in the eye, it's shocking what has happened. And I'll often get a dinner, put it on a credit card, put a little tip on the credit card, and I'll leave a couple $100 in the envelope. And I stand up and I walk out. And if you're lucky enough to get a glance, as you know, they always look in the folder, and they'll see those 2 $100 bills. And I've had them hold it up in the sky and look up at God, and just the most unbelievable. It gives me chills just thinking about it right now. But it's kind of a weird thing, because I started doing it for them. Now I actually do it selfishly for me, because I get so much more out of it. Just give a lot.
The giver always gets more.
They always do. They always do. And when you can see somebody in the eye that you've just, I don't know, maybe you pay their electric bill, or a grocery store clerk is not checking out groceries because they're trying to get rich. They're there because they're hand to mouth. And you see these people that try like that. I just love doing it. I love helping them. And obviously, this is a great time of year to start it, but do it year long and do it often.
That's great. Great advice to end on. Brother, you've been a huge blessing to me. I know you're a huge blessing to others. Your generosity has been a big part of my journey the last 5 or 6 years also. So I appreciate you. I appreciate all that you've done for me, and I appreciate you taking the time to share with everyone today. So I know it's pretty hard to actually connect with you. Maybe you want to give one quick plug for your book. If they can go find the digital version on Amazon, they should, because the 52 sparks that you share in there are incredible.
Oh, that's too kind of you. Thank you, Cody. I just wish everybody well, Godspeed, and happy. This is a great time of year to pull together and do that very thing. And Cody, you are such an inspiration to me too. I wish you and your family well, and Merry Christmas, brother.
Thank you, sir. Mark, I do appreciate the time. Go get his book. You didn't even plug it there like I told you to, but it's called They Can't Eat You. Go search it. Mark with a C, Marc Sparks. They Can't Eat You. You're not going to find him on social media. We already learned. So I appreciate your time, my friend, and all the value you delivered. For everyone who listened today, if you enjoyed this episode, please hit subscribe. You can also follow on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, so you know when new episodes launch. But more importantly, if you did enjoy this episode, do me a personal favor and go leave a review out there. Whatever your favorite podcasting platform is, that way other people know that this would be a valuable use of their time. Thank you.
Thank you, Cody.